And this police officer said, "You know something?" He said,
He ain't gonna let me post this.
"If they didn't carry
I'm already
different
back up
banners
on
and shout
space.
different things, I would never have known which was which. What you thought you become. I tell you what, they're terrified.
Wow, that's so good.
They're terrified that we won't cooperate anymore. It's a simple word. No, we're not doing it. So when they tell you guys are under lockdown because we've made a ridiculous excuse to get you under control, you say no, not doing it. And if enough people say no, it's unenforceable. This is the whole point that people, I think, need to grasp. Because of what I talked about earlier, where from the earliest age, kids are indoctrinated into obey authority, fear authority. What's going to happen if authority doesn't like what you've done? People can get into this fear mode with regard to authority. But what the hell is authority? If you look at 8 billion people in the world, and you look at the number of people in full knowledge who are driving this agenda, it's absolutely tiny. It's tiny. If you go to the core of this global code, you'd get them into a single room. And from that, those few people ultimately going out of the human world, but in the human world, ultimately that group are dictating the lives of 8 billion people. Now, purely mathematically, that should be impossible. A few people cannot control 8 billion. It's ridiculous.
Right.
The way it's done is that the 8 billion, or the great vast majority of them, obey what the few tell them. They get told what to do, and they do it. And if we didn't, when you can see that it's actually about enslaving the population, it's enslaving our kids, it's destroying their future, we simply don't do it. You know, you've got all these, and you know, again, because it's globally coordinated, you see the same things happening everywhere about the same time, because it's coming from a central global point. So suddenly, all authorities all over the world had the same idea on the same, or in the same period anyway. Oh, I tell you what, we're going to send drag queens into schools to read stories and dance around and prance around and sexualize little kids. Now, I've got a problem against drag queens. I mean, all the best, mate. You know, live your life as you choose, you see fit, as long as you don't impose it on anyone else. But it's happening all across America. It's starting to happen. It's happening in Britain. Right. It's happening in country after country. Now, the response to that is not to moan about it. It's to say, my child is not going to that school until that stops. We are not having it.
When the pandemic happened, nobody did anything.
Take the people who, in full knowledge, who are driving this, you take all the law enforcement and you take those numbers away from 8 billion, you're still looking at a tiny number of people. And this is how it works. And it's all a psychological game. If they can get your psychology, they get your perceptions, they get your behavior. So there's two types of people, this is never more important than today, that have been responsible for every tyranny in history. One group is that which just does what authority tells it without question. Do it. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know best, sir. Yes, sir. I know my place, sir. Thank you, sir. And then you've got another group that doesn't want to do it. They maybe have a feeling there's something not right here. I really don't want to do this. But they do it anyway because they're frightened of not doing it. They're frightened of authority. And that leaves the third group, which has ended every tyranny in history, which is the group that says, I can see what you're doing and I'm not cooperating with you. So when you tell me to do something that I can see as an ulterior motive that's bad for me and humanity, I'm not doing it. And you know, I'll give you a quick example.
Mm-hmm.